Almost every dawn in the Namib Desert, when the horizon is still washed in pale blue, small dark shapes begin to emerge from the sand. Fog-basking beetles rise from beneath the surface and start a deliberate climb up the face of towering dunes. These dunes can exceed 300 meters in height, vast shifting mountains sculpted by wind. For a beetle barely 2 centimeters long, the ascent is monumental. Scaled to human proportions, it would be like climbing several Mount Everests in succession. They move with steady determination, legs gripping loose grains that slide backward with every step. The air is cold, the sand still holding the night's chill. Above them, a thin veil of fog rolls inland from the Atlantic Ocean, carried by angled winds that strike the dune crests first. The beetles are not wandering. They are timing their climb precisely. At the summit, exposed to the incoming mist, they will harvest the only reliable source of fresh water in this desert. In a landscape defined by heat and drought, survival begins with fog. At the crest of the dune, the beetles stop climbing and transform into living instruments. Facing into the moist Atlantic breeze, each one lowers its head and raises its abdomen, aligning its body at an angle of roughly 23 degrees. This precise posture is not accidental. It positions the shell to intercept the maximum flow of fog drifting over the ridge. The beetle's carapace is a remarkable surface. Microscopic textures combine water-attracting bumps with water-repelling channels. As fog droplets settle on the shell, they condense into tiny beads. The hydrophobic regions prevent the moisture from spreading, forcing droplets to gather and grow. Gravity then takes over. The beads merge into small rivulets that run down the sloped back, guided directly toward the beetle's mouth. Without digging, without searching for rare pools, the insect drinks from the air itself. In a single fog event, it can collect water equal to nearly 40% of its own body weight. In a desert where rainfall is almost non-existent, physics becomes survival technology. This fog is more than a passing weather pattern. Rolling in from the cold Atlantic Ocean, it reaches the Namib Desert on average every 2 days, carried inland by steady coastal winds. Rain rarely falls here, and rivers are almost non-existent. Instead, this drifting veil of moisture sustains an entire ecosystem. Beetles drink from it. Geckos lap condensed droplets from sand and stone. Even plants draw life from the brief dampness it leaves behind. In a landscape that appears barren and lifeless, fog is the quiet architect of survival. But gathering water at the dune's crest comes with risk. The same elevated ridges that intercept the richest mist also expose small bodies against the brightening sky. As the sun rises, silhouettes sharpen. Predators that have waited through the cold night begin to stir. On the open slope, there is nowhere to hide. A movement meant for survival can become a signal. In the Namib, every advantage carries vulnerability. The fog gives life, but the act of reaching for it can also invite danger. As the fog thins and the first direct rays of sunlight strike the dunes, another desert specialist begins its ritual. The Namib chameleon emerges slowly, its movements stiff from the night's cold. As a cold-blooded reptile, it cannot generate its own body heat. Before it can hunt, it must first warm itself, a process that can take 1 to 2 hours under the rising sun. It shifts its skin to a darker shade, absorbing solar radiation more efficiently. Flattening its body, it increases the surface area exposed to light. With careful precision, it adjusts its orientation throughout the morning, tracking the changing angle of the sun to maintain maximum heat gain. Every degree matters. Every minute counts. Only when its muscles reach optimal temperature does the transformation occur. The once sluggish reptile becomes a calculated predator. Its tongue, coiled and elastic, can launch outward in a fraction of a second, accelerating with astonishing speed. On these dunes, energy from the sun becomes motion, and motion becomes opportunity. With its body fully warmed and muscles primed, the chameleon scans the shifting dunes below. Life here is sparse, but it follows predictable patterns shaped by wind. When strong gusts sweep over the crests, they carry more than sand. Tiny fragments of dried plants, blown from distant coastal plains, tumble through the air and settle along the sheltered backs of the dunes. In these shallow valleys, wind speed drops and organic debris accumulates. For the fog-basking beetles, these pockets become dependable feeding grounds. Drawn by scent and memory, the beetles descend to these natural deposits, harvesting nutrients from scraps that have long since lost their moisture. What appears to be empty sand conceals a subtle buffet. But the same terrain that concentrates food also concentrates risk. As beetles gather in predictable locations, they become visible to sharp-eyed hunters above. The chameleon, now fully charged by sunlight, waits for the right distance. In the Namib, strategy overlaps with vulnerability. No ridge, no hollow, no shadow offers permanent safety. Once fed, the chameleon's focus shifts from hunting to territory. In the Namib, space is as valuable as water. A single dune slope, rich in morning sun and passing prey, can determine survival. Males patrol these boundaries with deliberate movements, displaying posture and color to warn intruders. Encounters are brief but decisive. Energy cannot be wasted on prolonged conflict. When a wandering figure appears on the sand, tension rises. If the newcomer is another male, confrontation follows. But if it is a receptive female, aggression gives way to opportunity. Courtship is short, efficient, and governed by instinct rather than attachment. After mating, they separate. In this landscape, partnership is temporary. Roughly 100 days later, hatchlings emerge, scarcely larger than a thumb. They receive no guidance. From their first steps, they face heat, predators, and competition alone. In seasons of scarcity, even kinship offers no protection. If food becomes limited, survival overrides lineage. In the desert, instinct stands above relationship, and independence begins at birth. Across the Namib, every life form is shaped by the same uncompromising force. The desert does not soften its edges, and it does not forgive error. Water arrives as fog, not rain. Heat arrives with intensity, not comfort. Wind sculpts the dunes, redistributes food, and exposes the unwary. Gravity guides a droplet down a beetle's shell and, in another moment, determines the arc of a predator's strike. Each species survives by mastering a different aspect of physics. The beetle turns condensation into a reservoir. The chameleon converts sunlight into speed. Sand, air, temperature, and angle become tools in a precise equation. Nothing here is wasted. Nothing is accidental. There is no cruelty in these exchanges, and no mercy either. Only adjustment, only refinement. Those that align most accurately with their environment endure. Those that fail to adapt fade into the shifting dunes. In the Namib Desert, survival is not about strength alone. It is about precision, about reading the elements correctly and responding without hesitation. In the Namib, nothing survives by chance. Fog becomes water, sunlight becomes speed, wind becomes opportunity. The desert does not reward the strongest, only the most precisely adapted. Here, survival is written in angles, timing, and instinct.